I'm very, very happy to be here. Nice Sunday with great people, because it's all about people. It's all about us. And you know, our party is the People's Party of Canada. And I like to say that we are a smart populist party. So you may ask me, why a smart populist party? Because we are doing politics differently. We're not like these establishment, other political parties, that they're doing politics without any conviction. Smart, so our goal is to appeal to your intelligence, not to your emotions. Usually when you're a politician, an establishment politician, you find good slogan for a campaign, you're doing focus group and polling, and you want to be sure to tell you what you want to hear and have a message that will be speaking to your emotions. Like Trudeau did the last 2 years with the fear. He used fear to control us. And that was efficient. Propaganda and fear was very efficient. But that's not the way that we are doing politics. When I'm saying we are doing politics differently, it's not a slogan. That's the reality. Because appealing to your intelligence, but also we don't do any polling and focus group and survey. We believe that we have the right ideas, the right vision for this country. And we believe the more we speak about it, the more support we will have. So, for example, what happened the last 2 years, and I want to thank grassroots organizations all across the country that did all the rallies across the country when it was not popular to speak for freedom because of that fear and propaganda. I started my first rally in Montreal in March 2020. If we were 100%, that was the maximum. But we did rallies all across the country, and here in Victoria, in BC, we were not the majority. We were a French minority, like Trudeau said, but not with unacceptable views. Our views were not popular, but they were based on Western civilization values. And because of you and because of the freedom fighters all across the country, we were able to win that battle to move the public opinion. During March 2020 and for a couple of months, you didn't have any opposition against the COVID hysteria at your provincial parliament in Ottawa. You know why? Because fear and propaganda was efficient, and these politicians in the opposition, their only goal is to be in power. So when you look at the poll, and there's 65 to 75% of the population in 2020 that were saying it's okay, we want more lockdowns, more curfew, more stay-at-home orders. These politicians in the opposition, they want to have the support of that 65 and 75% of the population, so they were silent because their goal is to be in power, and they're looking at the poll, the day of the poll. For us, that was not important. We did that fight, and same thing for you. And you know, we are winning that fight, and I'll tell you why. Because last Saturday, in the journal La Presse in Quebec, the Quebec government wants to impose, not to impose, but to push for more vaccine and the second or the third or the fourth shots this fall. So they did a survey. They did a survey and they asked to vaccinated Quebecers if they will take the third or fourth shots. And you know what? 69% of them said no. 69! And I believe that must be the same thing all across the country. So now that 65% that were saying, yeah, we want more lockdowns, you know, it's not safe and it's okay what the government is doing right now, they just shift. And that's why I believe it will be harder for these authoritarian governments to impose more lockdowns or stay-at-home orders or curfew this fall or this winter. It's because of you. You were there, you fight, and that's what we are doing at the PPC. We don't look at polling. And we do politics based on 4 principles: individual freedom, personal responsibility, respect, and fairness. And when you are free, you have to be responsible of your actions, the good ones and the bad ones. And we call that party the People's Party because we have faith in you. We have faith that you have the ability, the dignity, and the right to make your own decisions and determine your own destiny. We believe in people. We don't believe in a big fat government in Ottawa that will tell you what to do. And with more civil servants in Ottawa every day, with more regulations, we believe in our Constitution. And if you look at our Constitution, if you respect the Constitution, every province will have more autonomy, and the federal government, that will be a smaller government in Ottawa. Because if you have a smaller government, you'll have more freedom. If you have more freedom, you'll have more prosperity. So that's our way to do politics. We believe that the more we speak about something, the more it will become popular. And it's not because something is popular that it is just and true. And knowing that speaking about freedom was not popular in 2020 and 2021, because of you, it's popular right now. And the best example, you have a traditional politician for the Conservative Party of Canada that is running for the leadership, Pierre Poilievre, is speaking about freedom now. Now it's all about freedom. And he's able to speak about freedom because he did some poll and focus group, and he knows that it's popular. So that's why he's speaking about freedom. And he had a question. Pierre Poilievre did an interview. As you know, if you go on one of these rallies, and you must go to hear him. He's a good speaker, a good communicator. But when he's doing a rally, he has a stunned speech. It's 22 minutes. How come I know that? Because I was in Halifax, and Pierre Poilievre was there at the same time, and he did a rally at 1 o'clock, a Saturday at Halifax. He had 300 people there. And one of my partisans went there, and he taped it, audio. So, and he said, and I had a rally also in Halifax at 7 o'clock p.m. And I listened to his speech during the afternoon. It's so nice. He's telling you what you want to hear with nice slogan and everything. But when you try to find more, there's nothing behind that. And Pierre is not taking any questions, because if he takes a questions, maybe his message won't be that one, and there's a risk when you take a questions. So he has his message that has been tested, and he wants you just to have that in mind. And same thing with the journalists. Contrary to me, I don't have any journalists when I'm doing my rallies, but he had journalists. But he didn't do an interview with them because he wanted them to print what he said that was tested. So, but he had a question after his rally from one person when he did a one-to-one. And that person said, Pierre, you're speaking about freedom, but you were not there in the beginning. Yeah. But his answer was, yes, I was there since the beginning. And the guy was pushing a little bit. He said, no, Pierre, you were not there in March 2020. Oh, Pierre said, In March 2020, that was not the beginning. I'm doing politics at the federal level, Pierre said. And you know, all these mandates and stay-at-home orders was implemented by provincial government. When Trudeau decided to impose a vaccine passport for Canadian travelers, I was against. And that was in August. That was, maybe like that. That was, that was in August 2021. So you must say, Bernier, in your platform, you want to respect provincial jurisdictions and not interfering in provincial jurisdictions. So why were you against that in March 2020? Poilievre is right. All that was coming from provincial governments. Why I was against that in March 2020, doing politics at the federal level? It's because your province and all provinces were able to shut down the economy and have stay-at-home orders because the federal government gave them money, gave money to you to stay at home. Imagine if Trudeau didn't do that deficit of $450 billion. These provinces, I don't know, the stay-at-home order without giving you any money, that will have been very difficult. So that's why I was there, because the money was coming from the federal government, and Trudeau created the biggest deficit in our history, more than $450 billion. So the beginning was in March 2020 for a federal politician. But Poilievre said, you know, I spoke against that when Trudeau decided to implement a vaccine passport. That was in August 2021. That was a lie. That was a lie because, remember, in August 2021, six conservative MPs decided to say, and they said that publicly, we are against a vaccine passport for Canadian travelers. And these six MPs were part of the shadow cabinet with O'Toole. They were critics with the shadow cabinet. They had a role in the Conservative Party of Canada. O'Toole didn't like that because the position of O'Toole, he was for the vaccine passport for Canadian travelers. So what O'Toole did, in November 8, 2021, O'Toole did a shuffle of his shadow cabinet. And all these six Conservative MPs lost their jobs as a critics. They lost their job because they were not throwing the line. They were saying, you know, we must fight that vaccine passport that Trudeau imposed on us. They lost their job. That was not the position of the Conservative Party of Canada. But at that shuffle, one received a promotion. That was Pierre Poilievre. And he went back to be the critics for the Minister of Finance because he was silent, because he didn't say anything. When he decided to speak with us, for our freedoms, that was the last week of February when we had the truckers in Ottawa and all that. And he did a photo op with a trucker in his riding. He was not downtown in Ottawa with us. And he decided to speak for freedom at that time because it was popular. It was more popular to speak about it. So I hope you understand the big difference with us and all these traditional political parties. Because somebody told me, Maxime, I don't trust politicians. You're all the same. You're saying something a day and the opposite the other day. You know, I don't want to vote, and I never voted. And I had people who told me that before the campaign, the electoral campaign. And I told them, you know, we are different. And look what I'm saying. We created this party based on 4 principles, like I said, and all our policies are in line with that. We won't change. Usually a traditional establishment party, as you know, they're doing a lot of polling and focus group before an election. And a couple of weeks before an election, they have their new electoral platform. They have a new platform, electoral platform at each election. We don't have that. And we won't. Our platform was for the last election was the same one at the first election, and it will be the same one at the next election until we win that battle. And I believe that we will be able to win that battle like we just did on the COVID hysteria. So it's a common sense revolution that we must do. And I'm very pleased that we can attract people from different political backgrounds. People who voted NDP, people who voted Green. Actually, in PEI, I was there in May. Last May, I did a road trip because at that time I was not able to travel by plane. And in PER, our team over there, our volunteers over there, they all voted NDP. Don't forget, PEI at the provincial level, the opposition there, not NDP, Green, sorry. The opposition there is the Green Party at the provincial level. And they all voted for the Green Party at the provincial level. They are volunteers for them, and they're with us at the federal level. So we can attract people from different political backgrounds because of our common sense policies. And that's happening. Same thing with the NDP. And it's a woke organization now. You know, they're not fighting for workers. They're not fighting for Canadian workers. They're trying to impose that wokeism and woke ideology and more socialism. So we have NDPs that are coming with us also. So that's why I believe we have a great future. We have a great future because we have a vision for this country, and I believe that we have the right vision. And, you know, that vision is your vision. That's why I believe that we are growing step by step. But what is very difficult for us is the mainstream media, as you know. They don't cover us, and the local media also. Today, we sent an email to the journalists in your region here. We have the list of all the journalists, local journalists, radio journalists, mainstream journalists. We have the list of all the journalists across the country. Each time when I'm traveling, we are sending an email. Say, if you want to speak with Maxime, he's there, he will be open, he can answer all your questions. We don't have any journalists here, mainstream local journalists. I'm doing a couple of events and they're always welcome. But that's the challenge that we have. And it's so powerful. Our values are so powerful that they are afraid of us. They know that if they cover us, that will help us. We'll be able to grow a little bit faster. Actually, that's what they did at the last electoral campaign. At the first campaign in 2019, I was part of the national debate. I was part with these national debates against the leaders. But in 2021, at the last election, oh no, we don't want Bernie. So they invented a new rule, and they said, you know, a new party must have 4% of the vote, because they thought that it's too big for us after 1.6. You know, they believe that Bernie won't be able to have 4%. But we had 5%. So I'll be there next time. And that will be a great and a real debate, because I will answer the questions, and I won't have to take 2 days off, because, you know, during an electoral campaign, if you watch the news, 2 days before the debate, all these establishment leaders, they're not campaigning anymore. They want to be ready for the debate. Why? Because they have to memorize their answer. They know what you want to hear, and they are using also not only what you want to hear, but which word to use. And I'll tell you an anecdote. When I was a conservative in 2018, I did 6 tweets against and Trudeau said at that time, diversity is our strength. And I did 6 tweets against that. And I said we must stop to promote, thanks. I said we must stop to promote multiculturalism and mass immigration, and we must promote our culture, our history, our identity. And when I did that, I was still a conservative. And after, I received a call from the leader, Andrew Scheer. And Andrew Scheer said, Maxime, you know, when you're saying that, there's a lot of people that don't like that. And, you know, next time, if you want to have something to say, just give your tweet before to our PR department. They know which word to use, and they will help you to have a tweet that it would be accepted by a huge majority of Canadians and by the mainstream media. And I said, no, that's the Conservative Party. They're spending millions of dollars to do focus group and polling, and without any conviction. And worst of that, their name is the Conservative Party of Canada. And I said when I quit, this party is intellectually and morally corrupt. Why? Because they have the name conservative and they're promoting leftist ideology. They are giving credibility to the leftist narrative by speaking like them and having the name conservative. They don't have any conviction. And before I quit the Conservative Party of Canada, because after the leadership that I didn't win in 2017 with 49% of the vote, I tried to work with the establishment of the Conservative Party of Canada and Andrew Scheer, and I tried for 13 months. But I called Andrew Scheer, and I wanted to have a meeting with him after 13 months because they were not taking any of our ideas that were popular. So I had a meeting with Andrew Scheer, and I said, Andrew, we're in 2018, and the election may be next year in 2019, and I want to know if you're going to take some of our ideas for the next electoral campaign, the platform of the Conservative Party for the next campaign. And he was very honest, and he told me no. And I said, why? He said, Maxime, you're right. Your ideas were very popular with the membership of the Conservative Party of Canada, but they are not popular with the general population. And so we won't use that, because my goal is to be Prime Minister. So after that, I resigned, and I said, this party is morally and intellectually corrupt. And Poilievre actually was honest, because in his platform, not Poilievre, Andrew Scheer, in his platform at the election in 2019, he didn't take any of our ideas. And, you know, the party was not able to win, and they were saying it's because of me, because we are splitting the vote. And I said, it's not my fault if you have a weak leader that is not a leader, he doesn't have any vision, and you cannot blame me for that. And after Andrew Scheer, you had O'Toole. And O'Toole said, okay, I want to be the leader. And Bernier was very popular in 2017. And so I'll speak like a conservative, and I have a lot of chances to win. And he did it. And he said, I'm the true blue. And he won. But after that, he went to the left. The only reason they don't have any conviction, and also there's more seats in the big GTA in Ontario, near Toronto, than in all Alberta. So if you want to be Prime Minister, if your only goal is that, and you're going to do polls and focus group, you're going to go to the left, and O'Toole did that. I believe that Poilievre will win the next leadership. And I believe that he will do the same thing. But it will take a little bit more time, because there's no rush for an election. So he will speak like a conservative after the leadership until they will be ready for their electoral platform. And we're going to see the real Poilievre at that time. So for us, we won't change. We won't do the mistake that Preston Manning did when he decided to merge with the progressive conservative at that time. We won't do that. We will stay honest with our values, with our principle, And I believe that doing that, this party will grow with your help. We had 840,000 people that voted for us at the last election. Imagine if each one of them, each one of these voters can find 10 more supporters. And by the way, you have 3 years to do that, so it's not so difficult. 10 more, each one of these voters, so we're gonna be at 8 million votes and we'll be at 20%. So we have time and it can happen, and I believe it will. The time is on our side. But, you know, what is the goal? To have the best ideas and the best vision for this country. If we keep that for ourselves, nothing will happen. That's why you must be out there. That's why I'm traveling across Canada, across the country, and meeting you, because I'm, I'm shadow banned on social media. It's very difficult to be on mainstream media. So the only way to promote the party is to travel, and I like to meet people and to be with you. But I need you, and I believe you need us also. But I need you. So, you know, if you believe in this country, if you believe in you, be informed. Go on our website, People's Party of Canada, read our platform, and have a discussion with somebody that you think didn't know about us, because there's still a lot of Canadians that don't know that we exist. So I count on you, and you can count on me. And I just want to add, and after that we'll do a Q&A, speaking about Western alienation. You know, the Conservative Party is winning the seat in Alberta, in Saskatchewan, couple of seats also here in BC. But people are not happy in Western Canada. When you have 32% of the population in Alberta that are looking for the separation, and actually it's more than in Quebec. It's 30% in Quebec, and it's 32% in Alberta. You must address that. If you're a national leader and you believe in this country and you want the unity of this country, you must address that. But they don't. Poilievre, Trudeau, the NDP, they don't want to speak about that. And we are doing that. We need to have a radical decentralization in Ottawa that will give more power to the provinces by respecting the Constitution. We need to change the equalization formula. That's the redistribution of money from the rich provinces to the poor provinces. And it's unfair. That formula is unfair. We need to change that and to be less generous. You are giving money here in BC to Quebec and New Brunswick. And I'm speaking about that. And I'm the only one. When I'm doing radio interview in the radio station in Toronto and sometime in Montreal, I'm speaking about Western alienation and about changing the equalization formula. And in French, I'm speaking about that in Quebec, I'm speaking about that in French. But when I'm saying to Quebecers that they are poor, they don't believe that. Quebec received money from the equalization formula because the formula is not fair. So what is happening? All the revenues that is going to the federal government for the oil and gas industry, it's part of the formula. But all the revenues that the federal government is receiving from hydroelectricity, it is not part of the formula. So in Quebec, there's a lot of hydroelectricity. So that's why Quebec is a poor province. We need to change that formula, and we need to be less generous to give the right incentive to New Brunswick and Quebec to develop their own natural resources. There's a lot of shale gas in Quebec and natural gas in New Brunswick. So if you change the formula and you're less generous, these provinces will have to find a way to develop their own natural resources. It's a poverty trap. Quebec is a poor province since the creation of that formula. The last 40 years. Do you still believe that Quebec is a poor province and was a poor province for the last 39 years? No. So we need to have that discussion. But They don't want to have that discussion because it's very tough to put all that in one slogan. And you don't want to go further that. So, for example, pipelines, that's the same thing. We're in 2022. We can build pipeline that will be safe for the environment, safe for the population with the right technology. But they don't want to address that because it's not popular in BC and it's not popular in Quebec, and they want to have the support of people in BC and in Quebec. But I'm speaking like that in Quebec, and you know, that's why I want to appeal to their intelligence. I'm saying to Quebecers, you know, we need to be sure that we'll have pipelines across the country. It's important for the prosperity of our country, but also for the unity of our country. And when they're coming, oh, Maxime, yeah, but you know, it's not good for the environment. And I explain to them, and they understand that it's safer because to transport oil and gas by pipelines than by trains or by trucks. And they had a huge tragedy in Lac Mégantic in Quebec 10 years ago when a train went through a little village over there, and that was a big disaster, a train full of gas. So you need to explain and to educate the population. But for a mainstream politician, they don't want to go there. They just want to tell you what you want to hear today, and they may do the opposite the day after. So the People's Party is a party that is very different, and that's why that was the best decision that I took when we decided to create the People's Party of Canada in 2018, 4 years ago. And you can count on us. We won't change. And you can Google me or YouTube me and do a research on YouTube. And what I'm saying today, I said that 4 years ago or sometime 10 years ago. Now we have a great challenge here. It's more than just the economy. I understand the economy and the inflation. It's so bad. But we must understand why we have that inflation. And Pierre Poilievre is speaking against inflation. But he approved all the spending that Trudeau did, the deficit of $450 billion the last 2 years. The Conservative and Poilievre voted for that. And we have that inflation because of that. Because the Bank of Canada was the ATM machine for the federal government. Trudeau didn't tax us, and after that, taking that money and giving that to Canadians to stay at home. No. He decided to do a huge deficit, and the Bank of Canada printed money out of thin air. When you're doing that, when you have more money chasing fewer goods, you have inflation. Inflation, it's always because of a bad monetary policy. So you'll tell me, Maxime, there's inflation everywhere, in the US, in Europe, so that's not because of the Bank of Canada. Yes, there's inflation everywhere because in these countries also, they said to their population, stay at home and we'll give you programs, and their central banks printed that money like here in Canada. That's why we have inflation. Are you going to say, no, we have inflation because of the war in Ukraine and the gas, the price of gas is going up, that's why we have inflation? No. If you have the same quantity of money in circulation in the economy, the same quantity of money in circulation in the economy, if the price of one good is going up, like gas, the price of another good will have to go down. So you won't have inflation if you have the same amount of money in the economy. Yes, the price of some goods can go up, but other goods will go down. Now we have a general inflation at 8.1%. Inflation is a tax, a very bad tax, because everybody is paying that tax. And instead of federal government and Trudeau telling you, instead of taxing you, the federal government is telling you, and that's what Trudeau did, and that's what the Conservative approved, that keep your money in your own pockets, but you won't be able to buy the same amount of goods and services with your money. Your purchasing power is going down. Your standard of living is going down. You are poor. But you tell me, oh, Maxime, I can have a raise, a salary raise, and I won't be poor. The bad news is Statistics Canada did a survey last month, and the average in Canada this year, The average increase in our salary in Canada this year is 5%. But the inflation is 8.1%. So we are poor, or we are paying a 3% inflation tax. And do you really believe that your boss will give you an increase of 5% this year? I hope for you. I hope that it will give you more. But, you know, some will have only a raise of 2%, other maybe 6%. So we are paying that inflation. And now Poilievre is out there speaking against inflation, but he voted for that huge deficit, and it's because of that deficit that we have inflation. What we must do to fight inflation is to tell the Bank of Canada, no more printing of money out of thin air. And as you know, the Bank of Canada has as a goal 2% inflation every year. But 2% of inflation every year, since 2012, the inflation because of that in Canada from 2012 to today was 25%. So 2% inflation for 1 year, maybe not too high, but add that every year since 2012 up to today, 25% inflation that we have. So 20% inflation is bad. We are losing our purchasing power. 2% inflation is bad. So what is the solution? We must tell the Bank of Canada to have a 0% target inflation. Like that, we will keep our purchasing power. So that's the economy. But like I said before, it's more than the economy. We are in the middle of a cultural war. Wokeism, socialism, and all these politicians that are pandering to every special interest groups and are doing, you know, identity politics. We must fight that. But you won't hear Poilievre or the Conservative or the NDP speaking against that. No, they agree with that. You know, we're supposed to have 5 or 6 genders in this country. That's not based on science. There's only 2 sexes. That's it. And when you know, when you have a little girl that, you know, she's playing a role and she said, maybe I'm a little boy or vice versa, these woke are saying, and, oh, okay, it's okay to feel to be a boy if you're a girl, and, you know, you must embrace that new identity. No, that's not okay. That's not okay. So we need to stop that education in our school. We have... But that's why it's important to be engaged at the municipal level, with your school board, at the provincial level, at the federal level. The radical left is everywhere. They are everywhere. So we need to take their place, and the common sense will prevail. So we are speaking against that. You know, same thing for, oh my God, in the Canadian Forces and the RCMP. They're not promoting people based on their competence and their character. They're promoting people based on the color of their skin, or, you know, that philosophy, diversity, inclusion, equity. That must die, yeah. So it's a cultural war that we need to do together. And that's why I'm speaking about a revolution. That's why, you know, I'm happy with our 5%, because you cannot do a revolution in 1 year or in 2 years. It will take time. But I believe the next time we'll have some candidates that will be elected, that will be in Parliament, and we'll do that fight in our Parliament. We'll bring that common sense. And I believe that the future will be our future. And that's why I'm very pleased that you are here today and fighting for what you believe. So let's do that fight together. And if somebody is telling you, you know, I was yesterday, in Alberta, which city? I don't remember where, But I was in Alberta. And a lady came to me after my speech. And she said, Maxime, I'm sorry. I'm very, very sorry. I said, why? Because at the last election, I didn't vote for you. I was listening to Don't Split the Vote, and I didn't vote for you. But it won't happen. I will vote for my values next time. And I understand that it's the most important. Because, if you want changes, you'll have more chances to have these changes if you vote for what you want instead of voting against something. And more people understand that. And I was very pleased that that lady came to me and told me that. And another guy at a rally, I think I was in Ontario, and he came, he said, Maxime, I'm the member of your party. I took a membership card for the Conservative Party because I want to vote, and I want to vote for Pierre Poilievre, and I was here today to ask you to work with Pierre Poilievre and to merge with Pierre Poilievre, and like that will be Trudeau. And he told me that after my speech. He said, that's what I was here. But Maxime, I was wrong. After listening to you, I may vote for Poilievre for the leadership, but I will stay with you. And I believe that I need to vote for what I believe. I will have what I want. So it's happening. Step by step, it's happening. And my God, there's a lot of things to do together. But my last advice will be, if you want to know more about us, go on our website, read that platform, and have a discussion with other people. But if you have a discussion with other people, don't start the discussion by using the word why. Why you voted NDP, why you voted Conservative. If you start that conversation like that, people will find justifications of their actions, and that will be very hard to engage in a real conversation. They will want to tell you that they did the right thing, and they will think about arguments for why, and you won't have a discussion, and you won't be able to go further in that discussion. So when you have a discussion, start the discussion by what? What did you do at the last election? Oh, I voted Conservative. Oh, okay, what do you like in the Conservative Party? And usually, they won't be able to answer. Because they won't be, because they vote based on a slogan or something like that. They don't know the platform. So start the conversation with the what, and after that, they will look a little bit stupid, and they will listen to you. To be more intelligent after that. So that's my advice. It's working. And I want to thank you very much for taking your time and being here. And we have time for questions. So let's start the Q&A together. Thank you. Who's going to ask the first one? Yeah, good.
Could something like the Electoral College they have in the U.S. work up here to help balance out the power in the West?
Yeah, that's a good question about our electoral system. I believe that we must put some changes in our electoral system. I like our system. It's not the best one, but I like it. What we must do to improve it, we must have more proportionality in our system. So we had 5% of the vote at the last election. Why we don't have 5% of the MP in Parliament? So we must have more proportional representation in that system. And actually, we are working on that, and we are updating our platform, and that will be part of our platform for the next election. Thank you. Yes?
Do you believe that Canada should be part of the WHO and the UN?
No, thank you for asking. Yes, the World Economic Forum, the World Health Organization, and the UN. About the UN, I'll say, yes, we can be part of the UN, but, do you know that we are spending $1 billion a year and we are giving that to the UN? We're going to be part of the UN at one condition. When the UN will do something in line with our values, we will give money to the UN. And I can tell you that will save a lot of money because the UN, it's a socialist organization and they're not working for us. At the PPC, we are putting Canadian first and our country first. But I want to answer also about the World Economic Forum. If you're on the social media, you may see something, oh yeah, Bernier is good, but he's a globalist. He was in Davos, and he's a globalist. I don't know if you read that, but yeah, good. So the answer to that is yes and no. They are saying that because I was in Davos in 2018. And I was in Davos in 2018. Why? Because in 2018, I was the foreign affairs minister, and we were in war in Afghanistan in 2018. And as you know, our Canadian forces didn't have at that time, and they still don't have the right equipment. So I decided to go in Davos during the World Economic Forum because that was a good opportunity for me as a foreign affairs minister to meet at the same place all these foreign affairs ministers, and I had meeting with them over 2 days, and my goal was to convince it, and that was my responsibility that Harper asked me to do, to convince France, UK, Germany to help us in Afghanistan with troops or equipment. And so I said, okay, I'll go in Davos. They're going to be all there. So I was there, had these meeting with them. I think I had 32 meetings in 2 days. And I was successful. We had the support of France, Germany, and other countries in Europe for us in Afghanistan. But I did not assist to that World Economic Forum conference. But I was at the same place for my job, and I was working for my country. I was not working against my country when I was there, and I didn't assist that. That's why they're saying that. They're saying, oh, Bernier was in Davos in 2018, so he was at that conference, so he's a globalist. Bernier was in Davos in 2018. I was there as my role as foreign affairs minister to fight for my country. I didn't assist at that conference, and I left after it. So I'm not a globalist. I believe in this country. I believe in our sovereignty of our country, and the World Economic Forum they're very efficient at promoting wokeism and socialist values. We must fight that. And you know, people are saying, oh, Maxime, some people, Maxime, we need to fight the UN and the World Economic Forum and the World Health Organization because they want to have a global government. They want to be over us, and we will have to listen to them. And when they're saying that, mainstream journalists are saying, oh, they're conspiratorists, that's, Canada is a sovereign country and the World Economic Forum or the UN cannot impose anything on us. Yes, it is true, but they may be able to impose something. Just go back in the history. In Europe, in 1951, in Europe, they signed the first free trade agreement between European countries. And after that, they signed another treaties, another treaty, another treaty. And the last one was the Maastricht Treaty in 1993, and they created the European Parliament. And it took them 50 years to have a supranational government. We don't want that. The UN and the World Economic Forum, they have time on our side, and that's their end goal. They want to be the supra-global government. If we don't speak against that philosophy and that idea, it may happen. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not in 10 years, but it may happen. People must understand, like people in UK, that they said they said yes to Brexit and no to EU. We must fight for our sovereignty, and that's what we are doing, and that can happen a day. I don't want the UN telling us what to do. I don't want the World Health Organization telling us, oh, there's a pandemic, you must do that. No, we need to do our things here in Canada for Canadians, and that's the goal of this party. Thank you for that question.
Same vein, but on a different page, which is basically international capitalism and corporate monopolies with corporations like
the big pharma.
Big pharma, but also investments, businesses like BlackRock. And do you know if any of BlackRock's board members actually are part of the Liberal Party?
I don't know.
There are actually a few of them right now. So BlackRock is a mega corporation, so that's like international capitalism. It's not really socialism, but they do promote businesses on sort of the same social credit scale, where if you're green and you're promoting these green economy ideas, then they basically buy entire.
Yeah.
They have $7 billion, $7 trillion, $9 trillion investment.
So for us, big pharma, big tech, we need to have more competition, and we were in that pandemic because of big pharma, and we have censorship on social media because of big tech. So, if you want to change this, I'll go back with the Conservative Party answering that question. Poilievre said that, he doesn't want to do anything imposing a carbon tax, and he won't impose a carbon tax. But the problem is not the carbon tax. The problem is the Conservative Party is in line with the Paris Accord and everything, and he will have to have goals to achieve the Paris Accord. Instead of taxing us, he will put more regulations on businesses and small businesses, and that will be a cost for us. So the problem, the carbon tax, but the real problem is the Paris Accord and the UN. For us, we won't sign the Paris Accord. If it's important for your province here in BC to fight climate change, we'll let that to the provincial level. But at the federal level, we will do concrete actions for the environment. We still have lakes that are polluted, and we still can do something more concrete. And the environment is a shared jurisdiction with provinces. So we are saying no to the UN with the Paris Accord, and we are saying no also to the UN with their global compact on migration. For the UN, migration is okay. Everybody must be able to cross a border and live in a country where they want. For us, it's a privilege to be Canadian, and it must stay like that. And we must be able to choose our immigrants. So that's our policy, but the Conservative, the Liberals, they believe in mass immigration coming from the UN. We don't believe in that. That's why we need to protect our culture and being sure that we'll have immigrants that will come here, that will share our values, and we must have an interview with them like we had in the past. And right now, our doors are open for everybody without any condition. And it's still happening in my own province in Quebec at the Roxham Road. They are crossing the border, about 50 a day. They are crossing the border illegally. And we are saying it's okay. No, it's not okay. We have borders. They must respect that. And yes, we must be open, but we must help the real refugees. That's the Canadian way. Not people who are crossing the border in the state of New York. Their life is not in danger in the state of New York. But there are some Christians in camps that where their life is in danger, they cannot come because of that. So that's why we need to rethink our immigration policy. That's what we are doing. So all these globalists and global organizations and big tech and big pharma, we don't want to deal with them. That's it.
One, because of you were talking about how the disproportional representation we have, and the city of Toronto has the same amount of seats as all of British Columbia. We know that's why in Western Canada we know that it's we have pretty bad setup here. That's why we don't. Why we bother voting when all of it, everybody from the west of Ontario votes Conservative, for instance, we still don't win. And also another question as well is senators. How are you going to address senators? Because now senators are elected for life, not elected,
appointed
by the sitting Prime Minister for life.
Yeah.
And how will you address that?
Okay, the first question. Yes, you're right. Because there's, the members of parliament that we have in our country is based on the population. And what the federal government tried to do is for one representative, the goal is to have about 100,000 people in one riding. So that's why you have big ridings and small one. And I think it's the right thing to do, because I don't want to represent a region and with maybe 2 million voters, and the other member of parliament on my side will represent only 100,000 voters. Every voice from member of parliament must be the same. So we must have the same number of voters in our ridings, first. Second, you have fewer seats in Western Canada because You have less population here. So what you must do, at each 10 years, Statistic Canada, and it's in our constitution, do a survey for the population, and so the population is growing out west. That's why at the next election you're going to have 4 more seats, and in Quebec the population is not growing. We'll have 1 seat fewer. We're going to lose a seat in Quebec, and you'll have 4 more seats in Western Canada. So how can we fix that? If we, the growth is here and was here before Trudeau with the oil and gas industry and all the growth. So Trudeau tried to kill the oil and gas industry. Now he's trying to kill our farmers. So what we must do, we must have policies that will bring prosperity. And so if we have that, people will move where there's jobs, and it was out west. So that's what we have to do. We have to grow the population out west, and it was happening before Trudeau. That's why you have 4 more seats. And I believe that you may have other 4 more if we have the right economic policies for the oil and gas industry and other industries. You're going to have more prosperity here. People will move. There's a lot of people from Quebec that are working in Alberta. And so it will happen. We need to have the right policies, and I know that 4 more seats is not a lot, but that's why the Conservative also, they are not conservative, because there's more seats in Ontario, and they know that in the GTA, like I said, there's more seats in the GTA than in all Alberta, so they want to please them, knowing that their candidates here are winning by 65-75% of the vote. So if one of their candidates lost maybe 20%, he will win. So they can, that's their mathematic that they're looking at that. We can lose 20% in Alberta, but we're going to still win, but we will have more seats in the GTA. So now you have 4 more seats. Let's have great economic policies that will bring prosperity and that will help the development of the West. You'll have more people that will come, and you'll have more seats.
Under the National Energy Program, that.
Yeah, that was bad. And the second question?
The reason was because, Chrétien said it's because the population in Alberta was growing too quickly. He said that publicly to us.
Yeah, but it must grow.
He didn't want it to grow.
No, I know.
You know why. Okay.
And the other question is the Senate. Yeah.
That they should be elected.
Okay. It's not part of our policy, an elected Senate, because if you want to do that, you'll need to change the Constitution, and you'll have a big constitutional debate. There's a lot of things to fix. We can have a radical decentralization by respecting the Constitution. So that's why it's not part of our platform, because one of our principles is respect. Respect taxpayers, respect our Charter of Rights and Freedoms, respect our Constitution. And we have a great Constitution. The problem is not to rewrite the Constitution, it's to have the politician that will follow the Constitution. That's what we need. So that's why it's not part, but and it would be very difficult to do. You'll need to have national negotiation about it, and I want to fix the country, and the easiest thing to do is to respect our Constitution, giving more autonomy to provinces, and maybe after that we can look at reopening the Constitution. But all these changes that we are promoting are doable without reopening the Constitution, and that's something that is very important for us.
But the senators can change. The senators themselves can change that. If they can change,
but they will need the support of the House, and they will need the support of 7 provinces representing 50% of the population.
Yeah.
Yes.
What do you think about Trudeau owning 40% of Equitas in Vancouver and making money off these shots?
It's a shame. It's a shame. And I'm not surprised. That's Trudeau. He didn't respect the law. You have a prime minister that didn't respect the law, and so he's still there enjoying life. It's a shame.
He's above the law.
Yeah. She said he's above the law. But and in our Constitution, the preamble of our Constitution is this country has been created under the supremacy of God and the rule of law. What is the rule of law? The rule of law is everybody is equal before the law. Nobody is above the law. That's the rule of law. We didn't have that. With COVID-19, you had the unvaccinated one that were, didn't have the same rights as vaccinated Canadians. That was not respecting the rule of law. And you have Trudeau, you know, he wanted and he did a deal with SNC-Lavalin, for example. They were supposed to go in jail, but no, they had a deal with them. You know, if you're a small business and you're a crook, you go in jail. But if you're SNC-Lavalin and you're a crook, you will have a deal with the government and you won't go to jail. When that happened, I was the only leader of National Party that said nobody is above the law. SNC-Lavalin is not above the law, and these crooks at SNC-Lavalin must go to jail. That's it. They didn't respect the law. That's the rule of law, and we are not under the rule of law anymore with Trudeau.
Schwab of the WEF has been boasting about having taken over, about having infiltrated our cabinet. How do we deal with that so that it never happens again?
We have people that will be elected and won't participate and won't go at these meetings and won't be part of the World Economic Forum, and they will have to work for Canadians and for our country first. That's our position, and our candidates, the first thing we'll do when we'll be elected, they won't, and I'm sure that you don't want to go there in Davos, so it would be very, very easy to do, but actually the members of parliament that are elected to work for this country must not be part of that organization.
I'm amongst the people that support PPC that have come from the progressive NDP supporter side. I just recognize they've completely turned their back on anything that represents progressive natures in this country. So I'm trying to reach out to people that I was once associated with on that part of the political side to bring them into the fold of the PPC, but they're outright against it. They view it as being racist and anti-science, anti-climate. What is it that you intend to do going into the next federal election that could open the door for more people to recognize that the PPC is not that, but unfortunately it does have the stigma in populist views of being anti-science, anti-racist? I mean, you hear it at all the rallies,
Yes.
You're just a bunch of racists.
Yes.
What
Yes.
is it that PPC can do?
So I must say at our first election, it was very hard because the mainstream media and our opponent were saying that we were a bunch of racists because of our immigration policy. And, you know, I had Jewish candidates that were knocking at door in Toronto and saying, oh, I don't vote for that racist party. So their propaganda was very efficient. The good news is, at the last election, they were not saying that because it's not true. And we just have to go ahead and push our values and people will come on board. Like, you know, for COVID-19 now, when I told 69% of Quebecers are saying enough is enough, you know, I understand that I didn't need that vaccine. So the time is on our side. I don't have to justify myself that I'm not a racist. And I won't. That's not the reality. So time is on our side. What you must tell them when they're saying that, you know, I don't think that Bernier and the party is racist. Did you read their platform? Do you want to know a little bit more? Just read what is their position. And I believe that you know, we're going to win with our ideas, and they must know our real ideas. And that's why we must ask them to do an effort and to go and read our platform. But we won't do a propaganda campaign and, oh, Bernier and the PPC are not racist. No, we won't do that. We are too busy to promote our ideas, and if they want to know, they just have to read. But, you know, we have more support for them because now they're looking at their party, and it's a woke party, and they don't like that. And, you know, what I said, I was in Halifax, and I delivered a speech, and I said during my speech, we are the only real conservative party, blah, blah, blah. After that, a lady came to me and she said, Maxime, I like everything that you said, but I don't like when you said we are the only real conservative party. Because, Maxime, I voted NDP all my life, and I voted for you at the last election. And for me, you're not conservative, you're a common sense party. And I look at her, I said, you're right. You're absolutely right. I won't say that again. And we are able to attract these people that voted for another party, and that will be our growth. And I strongly believe that the time is on our side. They just have to do the effort to go on our website and read our platform.
You use the word revolution.
Yeah.
I've not heard you say that before. Do you believe that you're leading a revolution?
A quiet, a peaceful revolution, an ideological revolution, a cultural revolution, a common sense revolution. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So we have an awful lot of problems in our school systems. I've been calling all of these people in these positions pedophiles for a long time, and nothing's ever happened to me for the number of years I took them to court. It's a nightmare in there. How do you plan to correct all of this nightmarish stuff that we have going on? We have teachers who are teaching children where to masturbate. They just recently in my district, a man the district that I've been calling and saying, hey, you guys got all these problems, and they won't address them. They tell me to go to the unions, but they just hang up on you. Because nobody wants to hear that a pedophile wrote the sex ed curriculum. Nobody wants to hear these things, and I tell them all. And I also tell them, gee, I've been calling you guys all this for years and nothing's happening to me.
Yeah.
It's all true. And now we just had this other teacher in District 61 again. But now at least they've changed a little bit. They're now removing their licenses before they just move them around.
Yeah. So what I can do, respecting the Constitution, I can speak against that, but I cannot do anything concrete because it's under provincial jurisdiction and school board. That's why I'm asking you be active there. But I can help you by promoting the same philosophy. That's what I'm doing. But be active at school board, municipal level, provincial level, federal level, and it will change. That's our only hope.
So I keep taking them to court.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on establishing provincial PPC parties?
No, actually, in Ontario, they want us to do that. In Alberta also. We are too busy to push our ideas at the federal level. But if somebody wants to build a provincial party, I cannot stop that person, but I won't promote that because, you know, building a national party, it's a big task, and now it's going well, and we have a small team in Ottawa, and we are working only for that, and so I'm saying no. And if somebody is coming, Maxime, I want to create a party at the provincial level, I will discourage that person, but, you know, I cannot stop a person to start a party. Yes?
Max, what's your position on Canada supporting both militarily and economically the fighting that's going on in Ukraine right now?
Yeah, our position in Ukraine is very, very strict. It's not our war. We don't have to do anything there. We are broke. We cannot spend money. And we must promote Canadian values. We must promote peace and prosperity. We must try to find a diplomatic solution to that conflict and promote that. And actually, you know, we are the only party that is having that position. Polyev and the Conservative are 100% pro-Ukraine. Why? It's a question of votes against. There's 1 million Canadians from Ukraine origin in Canada, and they're very concentrated in some ridings, so they want to have these ridings. They're using our foreign policy to buy votes in Canada. We won't do that. I'm telling to people that came from Ukraine, you came from Ukraine for a better country. Now you must embrace that country and live your life here.
Honest, so the pandemic and everything is the reason why I started getting interested in politics. Before that, I had no interest because my family was so political and I saw how many relationships and friendships ended. So I have 2 questions. The first one is, I would like your professional answer. The Speaker of the House, why isn't Justin Trudeau held accountable to answer questions? What is the job of the Speaker of the House, and can I apply? Because I don't see him doing anything.
Yeah. The Speaker of the House first is elected by the members of Parliament in the beginning of a session. And you know that the Liberals and the NDP, they have the majority, so they are putting their men over there. And after that, he must be neutral. But as you can see, he is not neutral 100% of the time. And in question period, you have 30 seconds to ask a question, and they have 30 seconds to answer a question. We cannot force Trudeau to answer. We cannot force him to answer the questions. But what he's doing is helping the opposition, because when you see that on TV, that is not answering the question, is losing credibility. So for me, when I was in the House, I was asking questions, and when I was a minister, I was answering questions, and always based on facts. And and I like to answer the question, really, the real answer. Some MPs or minister won't answer the question and will play partisan politics. That's why you have a lot of politicians in the House. Some are very partisan, some are not partisan, and I was kind of a guy that was not partisan, always based on facts. But you have politicians in Trudeau cabinet that are very partisan and don't answer the questions, like Trudeau himself. You cannot do anything about that. But when he's doing that, it's discrediting in himself. So,
You have to have intelligence to begin with.
sorry?
To answer a question, you have to have intelligence.
Yeah, that's it.
And my second question, first of all, thank you for answering our questions. So this one is for you.
Yeah.
So looking around at this meeting, there's an obvious age group that's absent. I've gone to the conservative rallies. They're even older. So my question to you is, if we are to go out within our individual communities to try to gather more youth, my question is, what do we do to go about encouraging people to put these down and actually start to have an active role in making change? How because no one wants to listen to us. We try. So what can we do within our little communities?
Tell them that, you know, what they want more control over their life. You know, when you don't want your parents to tell you everything and your teacher to tell you everything. You want to be more independent, and that's what we are asking. So we're going to give them more power of their own life. And I look at a poll when I'm speaking about poll, a public one, and the PPC, our support from the youth, we have more support from young guy. I don't know why young girls, but young guys between 15 and 25 years old. They're very engaged with us, looking at the polls, and I believe that because when I'm doing rallies, yeah, you are there. But last time I did a rally, and a grandfather came to me and he said, "Maxime, I didn't know about you. I was not in politics, but my grandson told me to look at you and come here, and that's why I'm here." So yes, we can attract them. We can.
Hey Max, just want to say we love you.
Thank you.
We love you, Max. And
I love you too.
my question is, can we put mechanisms in place in the electoral process that hold our leaders accountable?
Yeah.
Right? So we don't have to wait 4 years to get rid of a bad apple.
Yeah, you're speaking about a recall legislation. We can have that, recall legislation. If your elected representative is not doing what he told you that he's going to do during the election campaign, you have to have a couple of signatures, I don't know, and when you have, sometimes it's 10,000, or we need to have a legislation like that in Canada, absolutely. A recall legislation, so if the member of parliament in your riding is not doing that, you have the right to collect signatures, and when you have the amount of signature, there's by an election in your riding, and your representative will have the right to be on the ballot or not. Yeah, I think we must have something like that. Yeah.
No mail-in.
And no mailing. Yeah, no mail-in ballots. Yeah.
It's going to be added to everything.
Yeah.
I'm on this.
Yeah, so we have a big issue in the Western world with demographics.
Yeah.
In Victoria, for example, we have the lowest birth rate in the country.
Yeah.
I know Hungary has a lot of pro-family, socialistic programs.
Yeah.
So I thought, see what your opinion is about families and so on.
Yes, absolutely. We need to promote family values, being pro-family, and that can start with the tax system. And I believe that the tax system is not helping right now. I don't speak about that usually because our goal is that we won't be able to lower your tax in our first mandate. We need to cut spending by CBC, UN, foreign aid. So we know what to do. Thank you. We know what to do to balance the budget, but we cannot lower taxes with deficit. So a second term of a PPC, we're going to lower taxes and change the tax system for being, fair with family, and it is not the case actually right now.
If you were Prime Minister, would you reverse any of the leftist gun laws, like the stuff Trudeau's?
Yes, absolutely. We'll repeal all that. We'll repeal all that. Go on our website, real our gun policy, I believe. And I didn't write that gun policy because I don't know anything about guns. But that was a gun owner, a former Canadian Force Army guy that wrote our policy for us. And I'm very proud of that. What I want to do also personally, I want to take a course, a 2 days course, to be able to know a little bit more and having my own right to buy a gun. Yeah, actually, we're gonna abolish all that and repeal all that.
Should all be taking that course.
Yeah, go.
Hi, Maxime. More of a personal opinion. I'm wondering. So, Monsieur Pierre is saying that he's going to fast track immigrant healthcare workers.
Yeah.
Rather than hire back all of us who have been fired for non-compliance. Look at me, I'm getting really. Well, how do you feel about that? Would you?
It's unfair. It's unfair. What we must do, I said that during the pandemic, you must be re-engaged with full compensation. They must give you back the salary that you didn't have. It's our policy, and I said it's unfair, but also what we must do, if you're a nurse here in BC and you want to work as a nurse in Montreal, you must be able to do it. Right now, you're not able to. We are one country, and you're not able to. So it's under the federal jurisdiction. You know, you're a trucker in Montreal, you must be able to be a trucker in BC. You're a nurse or a doctor in Montreal, you must be able to travel and work where you want to work. We need to change that. That's part of our policy also.
Good.
Thank you.
Ryan Hook, I'm a reporter with Capital Daily, actually.
Oh, welcome. Thank you very much. Yeah. You can publish everything that I said. You know, for me, there's no secret. What I'm saying privately, like here, I'm saying the same thing publicly. So that's why it's easy to do politics, because you don't lie.
I have 2 questions. The first one is, federally you said that the PPC has grown 3%. We've seen the same on Vancouver Island. So I was just curious why Vancouver Island and Victoria especially appeals to you to come here. This is like the second time in 3 months. So what particularly about this place as opposed to like Alberta or other places?
But actually I was in Alberta. I'm doing a Western Canadian tour for 2 weeks until the end of this month. So I was in Alberta 3 days ago. I'll be in Manitoba, Saskatchewan next week. But why here? Because we have a good organization and because they asked me to come. So that's why I'm here. And I'll be, next time I think I'll be in Victoria, because we receive a call from an organization in Victoria and they were not happy that I was not there doing an event over there. But I'll do an event over there next time. So I'm going where people are ready to do something for themselves and for a better country.
And second question is just safeguard minor children. What does that mean on your sign?
Safeguard where?
It's the one in the front.
It's out front.
Where? Okay, what do we have on that? Safeguard
minor children. I'm kind of confused by that.
But, all that, how do you call that in BC? Guji? Soji? Yeah, we are against that philosophy, In Canada, there's a bill, I don't remember which bill C something, that, about the LGBTQ transitioning. And so I'm against that. So when you're a kid, and because of that bill in Canada, if you're a parent, you don't have the right, if you have a little boy that thinks that is a little girl, you don't have the right to have people that will help that can be a pastor, that can be a psychologist, that could be another person that will help that kid to accept their sex. It's illegal in Canada with that bill. I don't remember the number.
C6.
C11? Yeah. So we are against that, I believe, and we are against all these hormones that they are giving to kids. Well, I'm not against LGBT, blah, blah, blah. You can do what you want at 18 years old. But before that, we believe in the role of the parent and the parental authority. So, and not the state. Thank you. Yeah.
comment and a question. From all that I've read about totalitarianism in Canada and around the world, what it depends on more than changing leaders, and I believe if Aliyev gets in, he's just going to implement WEF policies, the same as Trudeau, maybe a bit more settled, but I don't think there's going to be much difference. It seems to me that it all rests on waking up the people that are very, very brainwashed and asleep and think the vaccine is safe and effective, and they're still lining up and don't see what's happening. So I'd love to
You have a point there.
hear your thoughts on how to wake people up. The other question I had was, personally, I am terrified about the coming social credit system.
Yes.
Terrified.
Yeah.
Because I believe that all of us that are unvaccinated are going to, have no access to our money, housing, anything. We're going to be dead.
Yeah.
And that terrifies.
So about the social credit, it's not happening here in Canada for now. But what is happening in Canada? In the last budget, the Trudeau government gave $17 billion to the Department of Finance in Ottawa and to the Bank of Canada for the next 3 years to prepare a bill for a central bank digital currency. We are against that. That will be a way to control us. The Bank of Canada will know everything, what you're spending, what you're doing. It's your privacy. We are the only party that is against that and will fight for that, because I believe the next challenge that we will have in this country will be our privacy. With that new technology over there, look what the RCMP did since 2017. They were spying on Canadians, and they have technology right now that they can open your phone, look at everything in your phone, your videos, what you said, everything. That technology exists. And the RCMP used that technology in 2017 without having any authorization for anybody. And now it's out there. So privacy must be our next concern, and we will fight to preserve our privacy in this country and saying no to that technology. We don't need that technology.
Smash our cell phones, get rid of them? How do we fight?
How do we fight? We fight by informing people, telling them what they don't know what the RCMP did. They must know that. It's not conspiracy theory, it's the reality. The RCMP in a parliamentary committee said it, that yes, they were spying on 20 Canadians since 2017. And for them, that's nothing. Oh, only 20. No. They must have an authorization from a judge before doing that, based on some criteria, like, is it a criminal? Is it blah, 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 blah. But they were spying on members of parliament in Canada, in a democracy. So we don't need, and for the central bank digital currency, they're saying, it will be more efficient, it will be great for us, it will be easier. We don't need that. If you want to pay with your debit card, you can pay, and it's very efficient, or with your credit card, or with cash. So no, because that's the beginning, like you said, of social credit.
Cash is king.
Yeah, and gold also, gold and silver.
So it's not so much a question, or it's more an answer. So if you want to do something, you can make a complaint to the Information Privacy Commissioner of British Columbia, or the Commissioner, well, I should say the Privacy Commissioner of Canada. So those two entities, you can absolutely make a complaint. I know that the Privacy Commissioner of Canada is currently investigating the RCMP for doing just that, for tracking all the phones during the pandemic. So the more pressure they have, the more they feel like people are interested, and it's public interest, they will absolutely go and take that on.
You have a point there, yes.
Yeah. First, I want to mention about Hungary. Someone said they thought it was better. Yes. What they're doing is they're reducing income tax for women at the third child. They're working towards eliminating income tax for women at the fourth child, and it's already half the abortion rate. So that's one, possibility.
Yeah.
But it was this gentleman from the NPP, formerly, asking, was asking about the
labeling, the same labels that they apply to the truckers. I just wanted to ask about what happened, because the PPC was considering pursuing a court case against Warren Kinsella, because in 2019 for that election, the Conservative Party did hire this corporation to smear the PPC. It worked very well. I personally was assaulted by people calling me names, and now there was something else I was going to say about that, darn it.
Are they following up with
Yeah,
a lawsuit?
are you following up with the lawsuit? Yeah.
Yeah, okay, you're right about the 2019 election, the Conservative Party, and we had the document about that. Our Kinsella, a guy in Toronto that is, working to do research on the opposition of the Conservative Party, to find bad thing about them and to promote that. So they hired him, and I think in the contract, if I remember well, they paid him $60,000 for 3 months. And what they did, they just invented things about our candidates and about us and about myself. And Kinsella said that I was a racist and things like that. So yes, you're right. I sue Kinsella, not the People's Party, me personally. Not the People's Party. Your money didn't go there. If you're giving money to the PPC, it was me personally. I sued them, and we presented that contract. We said, and it's not based on facts. And the judge said, it's a freedom of expression, and he has the right to say that, and blah, blah, blah. So I lost my case. So my lawyer said, you must appeal that, Maxime, you will win. But I spent $50,000 of my own money in that, and I said, no, I won't appeal, and I don't want to spend another $50,000 on that, and that's why I didn't appeal. But yeah.
I remembered the rest of it. So Jeremy Gustafson was a candidate at that time, and we were at a candidate debate, and the CPAC was there, and they were interviewing all of the candidates except Jeremy, who had by far been the best candidate.
Yeah.
And I went and asked them, are you going to interview Jeremy? And they said no, Ottawa had told them not to.
Yeah.
No PPC candidates.
Yeah. You're right. But you just go ahead. Maybe 2 more.
Yeah.
Because what time I have to leave? 2:30.
Yeah, you got to get out of here pretty quick.
Okay, so maybe 2 more. Go ahead.
Is there any update on the lawsuit you're involved with?
Oh yeah. There's a good news. Yeah, on that lawsuit, I'm suing the government on 2 things. The first one is my constitutional right to be able to travel freely across this country without being vaccinated. And I'm doing that with Brian Petford, and yeah, I love him also. And we have the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms that is helping us in that. So the hearing will be, as you know, the lawyers from the government presented a motion to the judge, and the lawyers from the government said, you must end all that, because Trudeau lifted the mandate, and there's no vaccine passport for Canadian travelers. They can travel, and so they tried to stop that case, and so we'll have a hearing about that September 21st. And the good news is Trudeau suspended that, so it can come back. So we have a very good argument, and I believe we're gonna be we will be in the court, me and Brian, September 21, and we are ready, our lawyers are ready, so that will be the first step. I believe that we will win that, because the word suspended, it can come back. So, second, if we win, we will have a full hearing on our case October 31st, Halloween Day. October 31st, I'll be back in Ottawa. And I believe that we'll have a decision in our case maybe after 2 or 3 months, before December. If we have a positive decision, that's important, because that will be a legal precedent. And so Trudeau or any other government won't be able to impose vaccine passport anymore. That's why we are doing that. It's nice that I'm saying, and you're saying, and everybody's saying, and was saying during the pandemic, it was illegal, unconstitutional. But we cannot stop the government by saying that. We need a judge that will say that also. And that's why we are suing the government, and we may have that decision before December. And if it's a negative decision for us, for sure we will appeal that decision. The second case that I have, it's in Manitoba. During the election night in Manitoba, inside, I didn't wear a mask. And so, no, I'm not suing them, they're suing me. Yeah. So, and so, we will be in court for that, and that's important because if we win, and I believe the date will be in October, I don't remember which date, but if I win that case, that means that they won't be able to impose masks on us inside. So that's another important debate, and we are fighting that also. Thank you. So maybe the real last one. Yes.
In regards to, you talked about earlier about the corruption that's going on, and we talked also about the votes that you think were destroyed at the election. I also think that Trudeau, with dealing with the EU, allow for limited migrants to come in, and as soon as the migrants sign the 900 paper, they can have all the Canadian rights and the rights to vote. So how can we, as a partisan or the Canadian population, fight against voter fraud and that kind of thing?
Yeah. So first, I must admit that in Canada, at the federal level, Election Canada never used the Dominion machines. Never. And they said that they won't use it. We are counting votes at the federal level like the old days by hands. And that's why we need more scrutineers every election, volunteers that will check that and count the votes. But the bad news is Election Canada is promoting and promoted mail-in ballots. We don't want that. We want people to be able to vote in person, showing their face with an ID card with their face and their address. That's it. So Election Canada promoted mail-in ballots at the last election, and they want to do the same thing at the next election. We are against that. And Election Canada said after the election, you can go on their website and find the press release, that they were not able to count 200,000 ballots, mail-in ballots. So I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know if these people voted for the Liberals or the NDP or for the People's Party. So we must stop that. We must go like we did always in this country, in person. And if you're not there, you cannot vote. That's it.
When I asked him how they were transporting the votes to the man, him and his girlfriend were driving from my school to the place, the secure location. And I said, well, how do I know you're not just switching them their boxes up in your truck?
No.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, that's why.
I asked, and this is what they, oh, it's all safe.
No. That's why we need more scrutineers that understand the law. That's illegal what they did.
This is true.
Yeah, that's illegal what they did. So when we have, and what we want to do before the next election, we want to do training for the scrutineers. We want them to know with a lawyer, they will know the right, they will know what they have to do, and doing that, it is illegal.
Yeah, okay, that's what I said.
Yeah, you have one?
Okay, no, it was when you were talking about immigration, just a very quick comment that there's a lot of new legal immigrants, and even in Victoria, and they are very conservative, and a lot of the people running with Viva at the local level are from Zimbabwe, Nigeria. They're all stepping up. Yeah. They're all immigrants from conservative places, and they are the ones defending our values because they are more conservative.
Absolutely. Thank you. Okay, so I want to thank you, everybody. You know, I appreciate that you took your time on a nice Sunday. Thank you, and stay strong and free.
Big round of applause. Thank you, Maxime.
Right on.